Your voice is needed. Your message is valuable. A small pebble still makes ripples. Do you have issues and causes you care about, and do you want to take action? Are you desperate for change in your institutions and communities? But there seem to be so many barriers that you want to quit before you even begin? Or maybe you just don't know where to start. Your voice is needed, and you can contribute to the change you want to see. Let's talk about how to influence others to take action and to smash the barriers to speaking up for change. Hi, my name is Lisa, and I have firsthand experience of seeing how the power of my own voice has made both huge and tiny changes. And through my public speaking, coaching, and training work, I've been teaching these tools to my clients all over the world for more than 30 years. After I broke my right leg and my left foot in 2020, I found myself experiencing a temporary disability, experiencing minimal mobility and having to use a walker to get around. And I started to notice things, like the restroom door at my physical therapy practice was really hard to open while using the walker. And why doesn't this restaurant have a ramp? And why does this building have a ramp that is so steep? Could a person in a wheelchair even navigate this? For the first time, I realized how hard it is to be a person with mobility issues. So I decided to practice what I preach about speaking up for change, and I emailed the management of my physical therapy practice about how difficult it was to open the door. Guess what? The following week, when I went to physical therapy, I didn't have to awkwardly jam my walker into the door to hold it open. The door had been fixed. It was a small win, but a real-world example of why speaking up is so important. So let's talk about why you need to speak up. First of all, you'll educate and inspire other people. Other people may not even realize this issue exists, and even if they do know it exists, they may have no idea about how to approach it. You might find a community where you didn't know there was one. Kind of like when you raise your hand in a room full of people and you find that others share your thoughts and your beliefs and your attitudes and your questions. Speaking up and speaking out makes you a role model. It creates an opportunity for other people to see what it looks like to speak up for change and to learn from you. You'll gain confidence, and each time you do it, you'll remember your courage from before, and it'll become easier and easier every time. Even if you're not speaking up publicly and telling everyone what you're doing, you'll still inspire yourself to keep going. You can't wait for someone else to speak up, because maybe they never will, or they won't say it in the way that you can say it, especially if you can share your own lived experience. Here's another example for you. I was getting on the freeway at an on-ramp near my home, and for probably the 100th time, I was nearly sideswiped by a car entering the lane next to me. This on-ramp has 2 left turn lanes to enter the freeway, but once you begin the turn, the lane markings disappear. If someone doesn't realize there are 2 lanes, it's very easy for them to veer from one lane into the other. It was an accident waiting to happen. So I went to the California Department of Transportation website because it turns out they have a form just for these kinds of suggestions. And I received an auto reply that my concern would be investigated, but I didn't really expect anything to happen. Well, less than a month later, I was getting on the freeway and I realized that the entrance lanes were now demarcated with raised pavement markers. So let's take a moment to reflect. What change do you want to see? What would it look like if that change actually happened? What would the impact be on your workplace, your children's school, your neighborhood, your community, your state, your country? And now let's look at the reality of what's standing in your way or what you think is standing in your way. Because often you'll find that there actually is no barrier, kind of like what I found with the road markers. First, you're scared of offending people or saying the wrong thing. Maybe you don't want to seem performative or virtue signaling. Maybe you're self-conscious about being visible and being seen. Maybe you distrust that change can even happen. You might feel invisible or silenced. You might feel overwhelmed with too much information. And how about this one? Even though I can't see you, go ahead and raise your hand if you just don't have the time or the energy to write letters, march, go to protests, give speeches, or make phone calls. Yeah, I see you. I know you're there. The good news is that speaking up for change doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be loud, and it doesn't have to be public. You just have to move forward strategically. So figure out what you want to say. Read up, educate yourself on the issue. Learn about the possible objections and misconceptions that you might come up against when you speak your mind. And then go find accurate and reliable resources to share. Now, I know it can be really difficult to know what's accurate and what's credible out there, but there are really great resources online to help you identify these credible sources, so go do a search. Also, check out people's personal experiences and thoughts on the issue. You will learn a ton just from reading comments on an article or a social media post, even if you don't agree with all of it. Discover your audience. Who is it that actually needs to hear this? Is it something you want to talk to your elected officials about? Is it something you might address at a city council meeting? Is it something you want to share with your customers or your clients, your family, or your friends? Even if you think your message is unrelated to what's going on in the world, it's not. And then find your community if you need support. They're already out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Once upon a time, I even started a nonprofit because I was working in the nonprofit sector, and I just thought that's what you did when you cared about something, but you do not need to do that. There are already community organizations, social media accounts, and websites that address the issue that you're concerned about, where you can gather more information and find allies. The easiest ways to take baby steps towards speaking up for change include writing letters to your legislators, amplifying other people's messages, like sharing posts on social media that say what you want to say but better, making donations, volunteering for organizations you care about, and talking to the people close to you about the changes that you want to see. The most important thing here is taking action. Even if it's not public, even if other people don't see you doing it, and even if you don't see positive results quickly or in real time. You can't expect other people to take action if you're not doing it yourself. And by the way, I want to invite you to ask yourself this question. Do you care more about what people think of you, or do you care more about making change? I know you want change. We all do. But sometimes it seems like there are so many obstacles that your one voice can't possibly make a difference. Your voice is needed. Your message is valuable. A small pebble still makes ripples. Go out there and smash the real and perceived barriers and take a stand for something by speaking up for change.